Good morning. Welcome. This is the April 11th, 2018 board meeting of Nevada Irrigation District. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Before we have public comment, I'd like to mention one item. If you have any documents or pictures or anything that you want to provide to us, could you please give them to the board secretary before the meeting? Okay. Any pictures or any items? So anyway, we could move now to the public comment period. You'll have 3 minutes, and please keep it within the subject matter jurisdiction of the district.
My name is Paul Elmore. I live at 21515 Placer Hills Road, where the new dog bar road is going to meet Placer Hills Road. I got to apologize. I had a stroke 3 years ago, and when I get excited, I have trouble talking.
Okay, take your time.
The wife and I met with the general manager and the senior engineer on June 20th of last year. He said that he would come out to our property and stake exactly where the new road was going to go. Nobody ever showed up, never heard a word. We plan on living in this property till we croak, and we'd like to find out what's going on. You got an award not too long ago about being transparent. I don't think so. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Tim Carson, and we live next to Paul at 21505 Placer Hills Road, which is private road where the proposed relocation of Dog Bar Road would come out. My wife and I purchased the initial 12.5 acres in 1986. At that time, we went and purchased adjoining properties as they became available for sale, as to stop anybody from purchasing them and developing them and eliminating our privacy, now totaling approximately 120 acres. We built our dream home, cleared the land, built fences, installed irrigation systems, raised 3 children and 3 grandchildren there. Now, after 35 years of hard labor and well over $1 million, we are expected to move on for no other reason than to have NID sell water out of the area to others. This would destroy all we have worked for 35 years. It would be lost. There are no other properties with the amenities, privacy, wildlife, beautiful views of the creek and river, all outside our doorstep and sometimes inside our house. All our children expect to move here and build their own homes on the property when life affords them the opportunity. They speak of this at all family gatherings. This would all be gone for them and their children. Griswold Creek runs through several of our parcels, which is at the bottom of a very beautiful little valley that is alive with every kind of animal you can think of at night. It becomes a musical orchestra of frogs, owls, foxes, deer, coyotes, bears, mountain lions, bobcats, you name it. They're down there. I know because I've been putting out trail cams for years down there. I've even got pictures of the extremely elusive ringtail cat. Griswold Creek is just 40 yards from my bedroom window, which I keep open from spring to autumn just to listen to the babbling creek and wildlife, whether they are communicating to mate or to be eaten. I hear them all night long. It's extremely soothing and peaceful. I fall asleep to the sounds of it every night. What would I hear if the proposed Centennial Dam, Dog Bar Bridge, and road were to be built? I would hear cars, trucks, motorcycles, all going 60 miles an hour and skimming to a stop at the new stoplight at the corner of Dog Bar and Placer Hills Road. The new Dog Bar Road would be within 50 yards of my bedroom window. Not a pleasant thought. Our lifetime dream and my children's dreams would be gone forever, not replaceable. There must be a better solution. Why destroy such a beautiful valley, river, creeks, life, and many creatures? It works perfect now. The way it was designed, it can't be improved upon.
All right, thank you.
Good morning. Marin Lipowitz, Grass Valley. Anyone who'd like to join me? I pledge allegiance to the earth and all the life it supports, one planet in our care, irreplaceable with sustenance and respect for all. I'd like to ask for a follow-up on a general manager's report. I think it was a couple meetings ago. It was stated that NID will be starting monthly meetings with Lincoln to explore water needs. So I'd like to hear an update on that. And then the other thing that was stated is that there would be collaboration on the development of a new treatment plant in Lincoln. So I'd like to hear updates on both of those. And then I previously brought some facts about development in Lincoln. I'd like to revisit that. The projection is that within the new development, which there's been like an almost 300% population increase since the early 2000s, projected by 2025, 280 something. It's really big. And then within that increase, the projection for the breakdown in residences, the type of residences that will be built, 70% low density, 20% medium density, and 10% high density. And then the water use for each of those daily. Low density residential, which is your standard McMansion, I suppose, 806 gallons a day. That's the projection for low density residential, as opposed to medium, which is 536 gallons per day, or high density, which is 188. So those are the figures. And then the projection from 2005 to 2025 for low density in 2005 was 7,100 acre feet per year. Projected by 2025, 14,670 acre feet per year. That's low density residential, and to me, this is the problem, that we're selling our water down the river for McMansions in Lincoln. Okay, so I'd like to segue. Can I have a little extra time? No.
5 seconds, go ahead.
5 seconds, not enough. I'll bring it again.
Good, thank you.
Good morning, Board of Directors and employees. I'm Mike Pasner, Indian Springs Organic Farm in Penn Valley. Been farming with NID water for 32 years. The NID Board continues to pursue the never going to happen Centennial Reservoir and Power, the Crap Dam. The Board not allows stakeholders to attend the Vegetation Management Working Group. The Board will not consider rubber tracked excavators with their vegetation management plan. The Board will not do a complete financial analysis of excavators replacing both terrestrial and aquatic herbicides. The Board will not consider aquatic herbicide reduction and terrestrial herbicide reduction at the same time. Yes, they are related and can be reduced in unison. Because the Board continues to pursue the Crap Dam and continues to do a lousy job reducing herbicide use, we must consider changing this board. You guys can make adjustments in the Vegetation Management Working Group that would make it much more effective, open to the stakeholders, and would cover all of the options. And you're not doing it. I do not understand why. I wish we could debate it in this room so that everyone could see how ridiculous this is. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike. So, no other public comment. We'll close public comment and move to the consent agenda. Are there any items that wish to be taken out of consent?
I move for the approval.
Second?
Have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Division 1.
Aye.
Division 2.
Aye.
Division 3.
Aye.
Division 5.
Aye.
Division 4.
Aye. Next item is general orders surplus water declaration. Mr. Close.
Good morning, board, staff, public. Please forgive me a minute here. I'm going to go fire up the slide machine.
It's not being good.
So again, Chip Close, Water Operations Manager with the Nevada Irrigation District. It's that time of year where we generally get with the WHO committee to discuss the declaration of surplus water for the district. And we did have that discussion this year. However, a month ago, we were in a very different water supply situation. So it was asked to take this topic to the full board, which we have done. But I'm happy to report things have changed quite drastically, and put together the slides here to show you kind of how things have changed. And we'll start off with the precipitation numbers. This is from our Bowman Lake Precipitation Reporting Station. And for those of you that are not familiar with these slides, I'll give you a brief overview. The blue shaded area, the bottom right corner, is our 131-year average. The blue line that you see there, single line that goes up to 136, that was the 2016-2017 precipitation. Pretty good number there, 136, one of the wettest years on record. And then the red line is the current year at 63.6 inches of precipitation. You can see we have now gone above the average, which is great news. It was a very interesting year, though. It started off like gangbusters back there in October and then went flat. So the district started changing its operation modes into conservation mode and did the best we could to save every drop we could after November and December rolled around, and then February was very dry as well. We are well on our way into a miracle March. Didn't match the miracle March of past, but still it was a gangbuster month. Snow survey. This was one of the reasons we're here at the full board as opposed to doing this at a committee level was the snow survey in March. The beginning of March was very bleak. It was only 27% of average. Not very good, and as we're all aware, we rely on that snowpack that runoff from the snowpack to fill our reservoirs as we go into the summer months. Well, the change, as you can see as we swap back and forth, is pretty substantial. The April 1st snow survey shows 22 inches of water content, which is now 65% of average. So more good news there. NID reservoir storage. Excuse me. Another shining light into why the water storage this year is good is that when we realized this was going to be a very dry winter, as I mentioned, we started conserving. And that has paid off dearly. You can see we're at 248,973 acre feet, which is 136% of average, and in fact is higher than we were at this time last year, which is one of the wettest years on record. So we're going to continue storing as much as possible and in preparation for the coming summer months. The background on the rest of those lines there, the shaded area is our 48-year average. The kind of golden yellow line there is the last 5 years, and then the other two lines are same as the last slide. Now, to determine how much water we're going to have for the summer months, we utilize the Department of Water Resources Bulletin 120 forecast. That's basically where they look at the SNOTEL sites and the snow surveys to come up with an estimate of how much runoff we can expect. This slide has a lot of information on it, but basically as you walk through it from the left to the right, the red line is what we're looking at, the 50% average number. You can see in March 1st, they only expected 41% of average. 13th, they expected 51% of average. Basically, every storm we've had since has raised their estimate, all the way to March 27th, which is at 67% of average. And then they recently updated it just a day or two ago, and it's now at 70%. So DWR is also forecasting much improved runoff conditions. So when we take all that information and we project out how that's going to affect our water supply and storage, you can see the numbers, or the red line there projects where we anticipate we're going to be as we get through the summer months. The reason there's two different lines is one is a 50% exceedance, one is a 90% exceedance. And you can see there's not a lot of difference between the two, and essentially that's because our reservoirs are basically full at this point in time. So if we have extra runoff, it's just going to spill at this point in time. So, all told, April 1st availability for water is in excess of 300,000 acre-feet from all of our available sources. That is normal operations per our drought contingency plan. We have received permission to close the Jackson Meadows spill gates early, and in fact we are doing that today. So that's pretty good. PG&E has now adjusted the allotment of water available to us to say that all contract water will be available to us. So more good news. And carryover storage is estimated to be at 188,000 acre-feet, which is 130% of average. So that's district. Now, when you take the NOAA projections for the 6 to 10 day outlook, it shows a wetter than average for the near term, wetter than average for the 8 to 14 day term, and then the 3 to 4 week experimental outlook. I love that, experimental. Forecast is experimental. It shows equal chances. So good news there. This is the drought monitor that we all got so used to seeing during the really dry years of the past. This was at the beginning of March, and you can see we were in an abnormally dry condition, but with the rains and all that, the drought monitor has been updated and shows we are in normal conditions. And in fact, it's probably going to change in the next week or so to get even more white area in the northern half of California. The 8-station Northern Sierra Index, you can see they're at 37 inches of rain. They have not eclipsed the average yet, but still a marked improvement over where we were just a month ago. Term 91 curtailment. So this is a monitoring of the Delta system, and basically what you see there is the blue line is current flows in the Delta system, and the dotted line along with the pink below it, that is when the Delta system is no longer in excess. In other words, they're importing water to keep the system flowing. When they do that, they generally put some conditions on water rights, and folks who have a term 91 curtailment in their water right basically have to stop capturing water and let it pass. You can see there that we're not even close, and the recent storms have really helped the situation in the Delta, and hopefully that blue line will stay above the dotted black line throughout the summer, or at least well into the summer. Statewide, the conditions are virtually the same as NID's. It hasn't been a gangbuster winter. In fact, it looks like it's going to end up being fairly average, but the reservoirs statewide are in very, very good shape. Most all are at or above 100%, with the exception of Oroville. In Oroville, as we all know, they dropped drastically to do the dam repairs. But even Oroville has rebounded substantially in the last month. We're now up to 81%. So in summary, district's availability is in excess of 300,000 acre-feet. We have very good carryover estimate. Precipitation has made a marked improvement. Snowpack is now above 60%, and statewide reservoirs are full, and so staff is recommending a declaration of surplus. And I will answer questions.
Are there any questions? The board? Comments?
I think it's several. Off the top of my head, how much water is available from PG&E?
Per the contract, it's 54,000 acre feet.
And what do we anticipate needing?
At this point, hopefully none.
Okay.
In fact, the forecasts you saw on the slides there do not include the PG&E water, purchase of any PG&E water. It's just what our own storage supplies give us.
Thank you. I've had several questions about what surplus means. Does surplus mean that we sell out of district is one of them?
Yes.
And of course, there are always the islands within the district that are considered out of district. So if you could explain some of that, Chip, I think it would help.
Sure. So as you may or may not be aware, the district has some exclusionary islands within its internal boundaries that are not part of the district. For whatever reason, those people elected not to become part of the district and haven't paid taxes and whatnot. Most of those locations are considered outside the district. Some of them are covered by a railroad commission order, okay, which is some underlying land and water right legal obligations. So on those that are under the RCO, the district has an obligation to feed them, and we do. The ones that are not covered by an RCO are considered outside district, and we do not serve those folks unless there is surplus water available. Surplus water per the water code is water that is beyond the needs to feed all the internal district customers. Okay? So when we declare a surplus, it allows us to sell water to those folks, mainly ag folks, that are in those exclusionary islands, and we have sold to them historically in the past. The board has put a moratorium back in 2005 on not expanding any of those, so we're kind of locked in with that same customer base we've always had. Now, additionally, we have a contract with the City of Grass Valley and the City of Nevada City, and they utilize our raw water and treat it and sell it to their customers. They are not in the district's boundaries, and therefore they utilize surplus water as well. And it is in their contract that they are only available, they only can avail themselves of NID water if surplus declaration is made.
Both Nevada City and Grass Valley are outside the district?
That's correct.
Except for some areas.
There are some areas.
Yeah, there's
Yes.
small areas where,
Thank you. There are
including
some
where I live,
overlap,
yes.
absolutely. Yeah.
Thanks.
And that is all delineated within a water service agreement between the city and NID.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Chip, thank you. I have to admit, I was the one in WHO committee who was the fly in the ointment here and held this up because I wanted to see the April snow survey, and I'm very happy. I'm very happy that it came in better. 27% is horrible. 65% of normal, I guess, is a reflection of the new normal. Ordinarily, 65% of normal will be considered bad, but now we're looking at it as good. My question has to do with the most recent storm we had, because I heard reports that it was raining to 12,000 feet. And did this harm the snowpack, or did it simply ripen the snowpack?
Obviously, it did a little bit of both. The lower elevation snowpack, there wasn't enough to absorb the rains that fell on it, and so it melted and ran off. But at the higher elevations, it was a very dry, light snow with the rain on top of it, just acted like a giant sponge and sucked up a lot of that rainfall. So it didn't completely wipe out the snowpack. In fact, it just added the water content to it. And although nobody's been up there to physically stab it and weigh it and measure it, basically the SNOTEL sites is all we have to rely upon, and they show that it didn't melt completely and added some water content. So that's a little bit of good news, actually. Most people would think rain at 12,000 feet is bad news, and if it would have continued, absolutely. We're hopeful it just acted like a giant sponge and it's all sitting up there on the mountain still.
Right, and I understand the distinction, and I guess we can chalk it up to good fortune. I guess my only comment would be that planning for the future, we cannot really count on good fortune every year.
Fair enough.
Any other questions, sir?
I'd just like to thank Sue Sint for the good job managing the reservoirs
Amen.
now and forever. Previously forever.
Down forever on that.
With emphasis on forever. So.
I think your retirement's just been postponed.
She's been called out. That's the slide that I'd like to reflect upon for the activities that happen right back in here. That's when things went from wet to dry in a hurry, and you can see the reaction of the district is start saving, and that's thanks to Water Resources and Sue Sint and her crew. So, and Hydro on top of that. Excuse me, they're the crew up there today closing gates. So, appreciate the efforts.
Are there any questions or comments? Go ahead.
I think that's great news for the wonderful bounty of water that we've had. Oh, Diana Suarez, Colfax, California.
Thank you.
Mike and I remember when you guys rolled out your Centennial Reservoir Crap Dam project, that it was concern for the diminishing snowpack and the drought that's coming, and it seems like it was played pretty heavily. Oh my God, we're going to run out of water. You're threatened. Your life is threatened. The ag customers seem to feel very strongly that their future is threatened, their businesses is threatened, and I think you guys have been drumming this story for a long time now, ever since the drought, and it's changed people inside where they're willing to take a populated watershed and destroy homes and lives because they're afraid that they might run out of water. And now we're faced with this surplus water declaration. Yes, there's less snowpack, but there's also the same amount of extra surplus water. And I think what is most apparent with climate change is we really don't know what it's going to be. We really don't know how the seasons are going to go. The models are inaccurate, and it's because of the extremes in weather that we're facing. So rather than beat the drum and then continue to do it, even in the face of surplus water, in order to justify this dam, I think we should step back and say, you know what, we really don't know. We need to diversify our water sources and create the healthiest watershed we can into the future for future decision makers that can look at things with fresh eyes. It seems like there's a little tunnel vision going on this board toward, well, we have to have the infrastructure and we'll do it because we can, and we don't care about the Tim Carsons and the other people of this world who've built their lives over there. And apparently there's some kind of miss where you don't see them as you. The people in this community don't see the people across the river who live in a community over there in a populated watershed as them. You know, our schools are on those two roads. Do we want to make a thoroughfare? There's a big outcry about widening 174. Well, there's Crowther Road and there's Weimar Crossroads. There's people there. It looks like 174 by Union Hill School, and it clogs up just like 174 by Union Hill School with people and their children and their life in their rural community. And the heartlessness of this board and this community toward their neighbors across the river. I mean, it's enough to do it where there's just animals and trees that are going to be inundated, but these are people and people's lives. And here we are looking at surplus water, yet this board can continue to justify a dam that will destroy people's lives and the economy of Colfax, which will affect the economy of Nevada County, because a whole lot of us come over here and spend our money, and that won't be happening anymore. So I would like to encourage you guys to take a bigger picture of things and understand that it affects human beings and people that live over there. And they're just like the people over here. Thank you.
Ms. Suarez,
Thank you.
we're in open dialogue. This is a agendized. This is an open topic, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, but we don't.
It's the difference. This isn't public comment.
I don't know if you want to address her. Maybe just address.
Will there be another drought?
it's uncertain because obviously everything's, probably. And if you put all the water in the aquifer under Lincoln that's spilling out, there's going to be a nice little pile of groundwater there in the valley. And if you hold back the water, maybe you guys will have more because you don't have to send it down there because of the groundwater in Lincoln.
Okay.
Any other questions?
No.
I think there will be
Thank you.
another drought. I'm native Californian. There's always been
I'm a
droughts.
native
There will be
Californian
droughts.
too.
You do things proactively is what we're trying to do.
Well, you know what?
We're
We
not
could
gonna
also.
just put it off to the future boards, who then will go, shit, why didn't we do this 10 years ago?
Well, maybe the future boards will have better preparation and a more holistic view of how the whole water cycle works, rather than, let's make up another bucket
Okay.
in between
Thank you.
two existing buckets.
Another bucket, yes, ma'am.
Is there anybody else? Thank you.
It's all true.
Marin Lipowitz, Grass Valley, back to what I was saying before. And I'm back because this is about conservation, and it's about the alternative methods that would preclude the need for a dam. Now, this is an idea that comes from Las Vegas. It's about a golf course there. So I'd like to share this with you because there's some really exciting, good ideas in this material. So, it's a story. John Pollock,
Yeah.
who's the manager of Spanish...
Hold on. Is this
Yes.
about surplus water?
Yes, it's about how we can gather more surplus water.
Okay, good.
He's the manager of a golf course in Las Vegas, and he was previously a manager in LA. His water bill was $250,000 in LA. At Spanish Trail, which is the golf course in Las Vegas, it's 6 times that. He calculated that every golfer who heads down the first fairway represents $42 in water costs. Irrigation costs have made Spanish Trail, this golf course, an enthusiastic participant in the Water Smart Landscape Program, which, among other things, pays cash rebates to water customers who convert turfed areas into xeriscapes. The word comes from the Greek xeros, meaning dry. In 2007, the club renovated one of its 3 nines under the program, and in the process removed 38 acres of turf, mostly from the periphery. So now here's the good part. The rebate program is mainly intended for homeowners who are among the world's most clueless irrigators and fertilizer and pesticide appliers. But golf courses in many ways provide the best demonstration of how the program is meant to work. At Angel Park Golf Club, a 45-hole public facility, they've removed 76 acres of grass, replaced much of the turf on the driving range with pea gravel, turned off a fountain, and eliminated 3 lakes. Water features, because of evaporation, can require more irrigation than fairways do. An important element of the conservation effort has been the conversion of golf course irrigation systems, now this is really interesting, to recycled wastewater. For a decade, Angel Park irrigated with potable water, which the city pumped from Lake Mead, 30 miles to the southeast and 1,500 feet lower in elevation. During an especially dry year in the mid-90s, the club used 650 million gallons. Then the Las Vegas Valley Water District built a wastewater recycling plant a short distance from the course, and the club connected to the new main and built a reservoir for the wastewater. So he was taken to see the wastewater and told there was nothing scary about it. It was clean enough for bathing. So the annual water budget is a little less than 320 million gallons, and they usually don't have to struggle to meet it using this new method of recycled wastewater. So those are just some ideas that I wanted to share about saving water that would preclude the need for a dam. And I've said this before, I'll say it one more time, climate change is a crapshoot. We don't know when we're going to have a drought. We don't know. So we don't need a dam. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good
morning, Board. Nicole Ragland, Nevada City. I think in the dialogue, Mr. Miller, what was missed with Ms. Suarez was that we need to diversify, and that was her point. That was my takeaway from what she had said. Because we don't know what climate change is offering us from year to year, we need to have many plans in place, and putting all of our eggs in a damn basket would be negligent. And so if one year we're facing a drought, then we need a measure that's going to work towards that. If we're facing a deluge of water, we need something else that's going to be put in place. But putting it all on the shoulders of this proposed dam is irresponsible. Ask Mulholland how it worked with his dam plans. It's a black mark on his legacy. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Lindsay Fitzgerald, and I just moved back to Northern California. I'm a Northern California native. I spent the last year of my life living in Patagonia, Chilean Patagonia, and being pretty active within what's going on with the rivers and the dam projects that are being proposed down there. It seems as though the general consensus of human beings that live locally where dams are being proposed is that they don't want them. I don't claim to be an expert. I don't claim to even know all that much about the logistics of water. I do know, as someone who feels I'm in my 20s, and I feel like I represent a future forward-thinking perspective. I just want to say that I hold space for people to not take anything personally within this room, and to really just look at creativity and to look at options that have not been done before, because what has been done before has led us to be in the situation that we're in now. And I think that's why things like proposed dams, doing more dams and more dams and more dams, is only going to lead us to the same conclusion each time. And yes, there will be more droughts, and yes, there will be more warmer winters, and there'll be more fluctuation of what we see on these graphs, and it's going to be more extreme. And I think that going back to a perspective of creativity and a perspective of holistic systems and holistic models is the future. And I don't think that repeating the same things that we have been doing within the state of California, where we're constantly blocking the water from flowing and preventing it from doing what it wants to do and preventing the water cycle from being able to complete what it's supposed to do, nature finds a way to work it out. And so if we can support that, that is the most innovative and future forward thinking thing I think that we can do. And I just want to say thank you for allowing me to speak.
Thank you for your comments. Do we have a motion here?
Motion to declare surplus water for 2018.
I'll second it.
Motion second. Roll call.
Division 1.
Aye.
Division 2.
Aye.
Division 3.
Aye.
Division 5.
Aye.
Division 4.
Aye.
Thank you, Board. Just one clarification item. In the comment period, it was brought up that golf courses have found a way to reutilize recycled water. I'd like to point out that the district does make full utilization of recycled water from our local wastewater plants. They discharge into the local streams and waterways, and we have diversion points down below. So we're doing our best to recycle that and send it to some of our ag customers down below. So just an FYI. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next, we have the 2018 Bowman-Spalding Canal Liner Project.
Good morning, Board, public, and staff. My name is Gary King. I'm Engineering Manager for the district. This is item 5 on the agenda. It's a 2018 Bowman-Spalding Canal Liner Project, FATAR number 2146. The intent of this is to award a contract to Hanson Brothers in the amount of $450,456.80 to construct the 2008 Bowman-Spalding Canal Liner Replacement Project and authorize the General Manager to execute the necessary documents. To go on to the background is this is a programmatic replacement. Every year we do replacements up in the hydro division for canals, these large canal systems. This is, even though we cut it back from 500 to 400 feet, that other 400 feet will be picked up in a next year. This is, like I said, a continuing of this current program to replace canals. We received bids on March 29th, 2018. Low bidder was Hanson Brothers at $558,298 with Gateway Pacific and McGuire Hester. After reviewing the budget and going through what the bids we received, we have trimmed down the budget to the $450,456.80 to meet the budget. We have discussed that with the contractor. Contractor's acceptable with the changes we made in the contract values, which is an extended unit. All we did was take the extended units that are in the bid form and shorten them up. The budget for this project is in Reservoirs, Dams, and Waterways program, 50112/52921, and the current budget is about $1.5 million. This will reduce it down to about $1.1 million. Just to kind of give you insight about the budget and the cost we're seeing, the ENR, which is where we track on cost of construction, recently had a 10.2% increase in rebar. That's a significant increase. So we're starting to see some shifting in there. But at this point, it's a recommendation of staff to approve a contract with Hanson Brothers in the amount of $450,456.
Gary, it's my understanding that the 100 feet that is going to be left out this year, will happen next year, including other footage. So it's not going to come back and do 100 feet next year.
No, we'll do like 400 to 450 feet and see how much go to our budget limit and do that. Then the next year and the next year and next year, working throughout the system. There's a little bit we move around the system because there's a lot of issues up there as far as canals being replaced, and we're working on them as best we can.
Yeah, so the tooling up costs are limited, the tooling up costs are not going to be as much as if you were to add another 400 with the 100.
I don't understand.
If we had to just do the 100 feet next year, the cost of transportation, bringing all the items, the bidding would be higher for the 100. Per foot, the bidding would be higher.
We won't do 100 feet. It's not worth our time.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
We'll do about 450 feet, 400, depending on where.
The cost per foot could be similar, depending on how the bids work out.
Mm-hmm. We're looking at some consistencies, but we are seeing some shifting of costs, and it's becoming obvious. In concrete, it was earlier this year, actually late last year. Now we're starting to see steel start to move around as far as cost.
And labor is getting more expensive as well.
Labor's going up. Prevailing wage shifts are happening too. Yes,
Scott?
Series of questions. Have we always, this has always been our canal, as in?
Yes.
For here, no changes in taking over from PG&E at this point?
We built it.
Now, the Bear River Canal failed on PG&E. I believe that was the canal?
About 3 years ago.
Off the side of the hill.
And that's not owned by the district.
No, I understand. So what did we learn from that? And I know the earth moves when it decides to move, and the deluges happen and they don't and everything. But what are we doing as we look at lining canals and things at their underlying stability? And is this a stretch that's just on flat in the meadow? I don't...
This is pretty much in a flat area.
Okay, so this isn't the side of the hill type of situation?
No, it is not.
But looking at the side of the hill situations, as we are progressing through all this, how do we look at that to avoid the catastrophic?
We'd look at it, depending on how it's behaving, but we'd look at possibly piping it or bringing it in more into the shoulder, but spending some time in evaluation. The steep areas where we have current conduits moving water, we have to look at a little bit. If we're going to do a rehab, let's do it right.
Okay, so this would be considered a rehab, and we are trying to incorporate that into the whole process.
Yes,
to fix it, rehab it and then have it fall off the side of the hill.
I guess if you started looking at it, you could talk about the DS Flumes facilities. What we replaced is DS Flumes, we went to a pipe facility, steel, no more linens, no more wood, such that it would harden up, and we went to less post being in the ground. What I mean is we free spanned a lot to avoid having undercutting of the support structure during stormwater events.
That was the one that was on the north side of the Bear River Valley up there where it failed?
It's down, actually up in Division 1. It was all up in that area. That was at DS 13, 14.
Oh, the flumes over
yes,
there.
Sir.
But we or PG&E had a failure there on the north side of the valley. as it left Bear Valley up there. Was that ours or PG&E's?
I don't remember that.
PG&E's.
That was PG&E's.
You're referring
Okay.
to failure on the South Yuba Canal?
Yes, sir. So, I get it, trying to appreciate you looking at these things ahead of time and try to be proactive as best we can.
Yes,
So,
we,
Scott, I think to your point, sorry, Gary.
Because it is unpredictable. Yeah.
Well, and so we've added this to our program, to our programmatic work.
This being the
This
relining and
well,
rehab?
So the Reservoir Dams and Waterways program, that is an add to the budget that we started that program up mimicking the programs that we have for the water side of the shop. And so it's now, it was actually being done by PG&E when PG&E was running our upper division. They were
Right.
putting $400,000 into their budget to do waterways work. Unfortunately, during those years, that $400,000 was generally a bank account for them to go and do other projects, and so
Siphoned off.
we're a little bit behind. But this is absolutely necessary in terms of the program, not just this project, as we're playing a little bit of a catch up, and we have staff walking these facilities, assessing these facilities, and then bringing that information back into the engineering shop to get onto the programmatic list.
With the best eye they can for the stability. Yeah, okay,
what
right on.
Rem's getting to is, give me one, is our current system has a lot of programs in it, like pipeline replacement and that, and what we're doing is we're spending X amount of dollars, because if you took it all at one time, you'd never be able to afford it. And doing the worst of the worst and moving through it, the same thing is here. We've been doing, I think this is our 5th year of doing this canal replacement up in upper country, but pipeline replacement's going for 7-8 years now. That system is working well. It linealizes our cash flow, it linealizes our staffing usage, and it has it so we can use our internal staff a lot more. So that's why the programmatic is so important to us, is because you do some every year, and you slowly get the chronic problems out and work forward to hopefully getting, as the good stuff starts becoming chronic.
Programmatic being the red pins that Brian Powell was putting in for the distribution lines.
Yes.
There were problematic areas, we'd address those first. Okay. No,
Brian identifies those, and that's what we work on for pipeline replacements.
I like the answer. Very good, sir.
Yes, sir.
At $100,000 per 100 feet, this is a fairly expensive undertaking.
Yeah.
As you well know, we operate about 450 miles of canals. We have been roundly criticized in the past for not encasing and tightening our system. Do you have any idea what it would cost to actually encase the system?
I'd rather not quote that in public because it's differing sizes.
I understand. One canal cannot be compared to another. The Bowman Spalding is a mainline canal, is probably more expensive per foot, and the rationale for encasing that is different than encasing the farm canal down in Smartville.
I don't have those numbers in my head. We can do some looking at it, but 450 miles is a long distance. It's like here to L.A. or right below L.A. laying pipe. It's a long distance, and so
it's an expensive undertaking.
L.A. is actually about 300 miles, about San Diego.
Now the budgetary impact of doing this is out of our regular budget. This comes from ratepayers, and it basically is a maintenance function. It's not a capital improvement function.
The question you have is whether
This money's coming out of hydroelectric.
It's coming out of hydro. Okay,
so
because
this is
it's
an upper division, and this is we are lining the canal. We're not encasing the canal.
I understand, but if you were to do this kind of work in the lower division, that would be more of a maintenance function.
No, this is still maintenance.
Yeah, this is capital.
Yeah. Okay.
To kind of give you an idea of
But
cost,
it's a daunting task.
the bottom of the canal is 16 feet wide. It goes up at a 45 degree up close to 9 feet. It's a big piece of facility. It moves a lot of water, and it takes a beating all year round through ice, snow, and everything else. So at this point, It's a recommendation of staff to approve a contract with Hanson Brothers in the amount of $450,456.
Oh, really?
We'll stop grandstanding.
No, it's all good.
360 miles Sacramento to Santa Barbara, 500 to LA. I used to go to school in Santa Barbara, so 360 miles.
Basically, it's like a
area down there.
How many?
If you thought about it, if you did 50 miles an hour, it takes you 10 hours to get to LA.
Sammy Hagar,
We don't lay pipe that quick.
1977, baby. I can't drive.
How many more, is there a guesstimate of how many more feet there are remaining to be done on this particular
It
canal?
will be a continuous project from now, and as long as we keep frugal on doing it every year. What will happen is
As long as Keene will pay for it.
yeah. What you need, the average lifespan of one of these canals, you estimate somewhere about 50 to 60 years, okay? So we're only doing 400 feet, and Keene, what have we got, 13 miles? We've got probably about that much. By the time we get done, get halfway done, we'll have to be back, or hopefully not back at our current construction.
So it's kind of like painting the Golden Gate Bridge.
Yes, it is.
Okay.
That's a very good analysis. Everybody likes the Golden Gate Bridge. I do too.
Any other questions on the board? Public comment? Any public comment on this item? All right.
Motion to award a contract with Hanson Brothers Enterprises Incorporated in the amount of $450,456.80 to construct the 2018 Bowman Spalding Canal Liner Replacement Project and authorize the general manager to execute the necessary documents.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Division 1.
Aye.
Division 2.
Aye?
Division 3.
Aye.
Division 5.
Aye.
Division 4.
Aye. Motion passed. General Manager's report.
Good morning,
General Manager.
staff and
Please.
public. It's my pleasure to update you on a few things. I don't have to update you on our water supply this morning. Mr. Close has taken care of that. A few items. It was my pleasure and a number of our senior staff's pleasure to judge the engineering tables at the STEAM Expo over at the fairgrounds last weekend. It was a lot of fun to see Little Minds' thoughts about how they are going to build a box for batteries and go through those projects. So that was a lot of fun. The engineering staff received AB 52 training. That's the cultural resources regulations around CEQA. So I think that was very helpful for us. It's unfortunate. We didn't receive the DPR grant. We kind of knew that was coming, but we're still moving forward with the IPM project. It'll just be a little bit less than it was than we had hoped for. We continue to work.
What are those acronyms?
Sorry,
IPM?
the Integrated Pest Management. So our study of other herbicides, or organic herbicides.
So who didn't we get granted?
The Department of Pesticide
Oh, there's the P.
Regulation. So DPR, they had a grant process. We had applied for a $300,000 grant. We made the first list, we made the second list, but we didn't make the grant. So our commitment is to still do the project, but we just don't have all the resources to do everything all at once. So we've started the project at one site as opposed to 3 sites, but we're continuing to move this process forward. We continue to work with. Yes, sir.
Could you expand on what is the integrated pesticide management? You're saying we're doing things. What are we comparing?
So we're comparing.
I'm not at the
10 agents the terrestrial vegetation management agents. We're also using 2 physical controls. One is a steam machine which rides along, cooks the vegetation, and then a braider. So it's essentially it is a sandblaster that uses crushed walnut shells to sandblast the vegetation into non-existence. So we've put out the first 10 plots and are now monitoring those plots on a 7-day cycle to determine if they're effective, and then we're also counting the species that are in each plot. And then as we decide the efficacy of each, if certain ones fall off, then we'll look to add other ones that are currently in common use. It's interesting because as soon as Placer County and Nevada County heard about what we're doing, they now are watching what we're doing because they're interested not only in letting people know about these products, but also their road crews are spraying all over the place, and so this is an opportunity for them to look at these sprays. And yes, sir.
Is there a causticness to the walnut shell? I mean, I know certain plants don't grow under an oak because
Right.
there's a causticness. So they just random that they're choosing the walnut, or does it have its own?
Don't know the answer
It
to that
just it was
question.
given. Okay, I just carry a natural way to go. So this is the workshop.
The working group has been working on this, and
This is that thing.
it's
Okay.
publicly being worked on in the M&R committee. So,
Okay. Huh, interesting.
caustic nature of walnuts. Okay, well, we'll work on that. I don't know that answer.
Should I answer? Walnuts are a waste product in the valley, huge waste product, they have to get rid of them.
Right.
So they're easily available, they've tried making energy out of them at UC Davis. They do have an acidic effect.
Some sort. That's
Not
what's.
huge, but some.
Okay, that's a little bit of causticness in addition to the pulverizing aspect of it. Would make sense.
The active component in the relationship is they are allopathic.
Okay.
Okay.
Other items?
Yeah, other items. Go
Okay.
ahead, please.
It's all right. It was interesting.
Sorry, bumped me. You messed up my flow, man.
It's all right.
All right. So,
You know me, I always got to talk.
You were at Walnuts.
Oh,
so we'll be,
caustic on me, my friend.
at the engineering committee, we'll be reviewing the BEP matrix to discuss the weaving of the fire protection into that process. We're also we're engaged in cut and cover, laying pipe on Rattlesnake Road, and we have finished paving for the pipeline at Shale Ridge. We are also we're preparing to begin laying pipe at the Brewer Road work that you guys approved a while back on Fay. I'm sorry to say that Lodestar Victoria DFWLE, the application period is closed. We only had one applicant, so that DFWLE has moved off the list, and we will now be bringing Iron Horse back to the list after a brief respite. Newtown Canal, the consultant has made their recommendations to final. We will be bringing that back to engineering committee to discuss some county issues. The county is reluctant to work on some of the improvements that are recommended, so we're going to need to work with them to try to come to some level of resolution. We are going to expand our site, phase 2 redesign for the building, and the idea is to relocate the boardroom away from staff offices into a place where the public comes directly into the boardroom and not through staff work areas to get to the boardroom. So that'll also be something we're working on as part of the redesign for this main building. Orchard Springs trusses are installed, and that project's moving forward. And then we are starting the RFP for the Elizabeth George to Lake Wildwood pipeline CEQA. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Not today, right now. You can do it in the next public comment meeting. Or a letter. You could send a letter to us. Okay. Board of Directors items reports. Start with you, Director Wilcox.
Well, this is a little bit off topic, but I would just like to mention that yesterday was a landmark day in the annals of California water history. The Metropolitan Water District of Southern California approved basically paying the lion's share of the twin tunnels. So we're off to the races. We'll see. Consent.
Director Miller.
No. Yes, thank you. Last week I visited the test site for the various herbicides that are being used to determine what might be a substitute for Roundup. And yesterday I went to a Mountain Counties Water Resources meeting organized to provide information on a new water bond that's coming up. In fact, there are two, which is very confusing. And if you want to spend some time online, you won't have the answers. And I don't have them either. But we're being asked to support a bond for $8.877 billion that will be on the fall ballot, the November ballot. Water Supply and Quality Act of 2018. There's a big emphasis on watershed restoration, meadow recovery, sustainable groundwater program. There is money specifically to Sierra Nevada Conservancy and to resource conservation districts. It is supported by Aqua. Signatures are being gathered now to be sure it's on the ballot. Another speaker was Jerry Merrill, who used to work for Department of Water Resources as Deputy Secretary of the Natural Resources Agency, and also Bruce Lundberg, who's chair of Northern California Water Agency. Interesting to see somebody in private business supporting this. One of Bryce's comments, and this was sort of a side, is that we spend so much time getting flow for fish, but we should be looking at habitat in other ways and not just water flow. That is the demand that's often put on us environmentally, but we need to broaden that viewpoint. So I think we're going to be asked to do a letter. It'll come formally to the general manager. And other than that, there is a meeting on Friday that I'm not going to be able to go to at Mountain Counties. It's in Placerville, and the subject is, has the state gone too far? And it's a briefing by Mountain Counties. Subtitles: water rights, curtailment cases, Bay Delta Water Quality Control Plan, waste and unreasonable use, and water transfers. So it's presented by a group of attorneys, and starts at 9 and lasts till 11:45. If you need more information, I have it. Thank you.
Boots Johnson writes a fishing column for the Territorial Dispatch, and a couple of weeks ago he wrote an article about the Department of Fish and Wildlife introducing 29,000 steelhead smolts, fingerlings, into a branch of the Sacramento River, and he said the striped bass showed up immediately and followed the steelhead fingerlings downriver. And the question is how far did they follow them? Till they were all gone.
Yes.
Right into their stomach.
Thank you. I too visited the integrated pest management site, and I think it's important, and I've always felt it important, that we could move towards a better solution to the weed control that we have. And I know that it's been mentioned here many times, and we are moving in that direction. I think it's best that we try and find a substitute for Roundup. I don't particularly use Roundup. I've never used it, and I would like to find a solution. But this is a water district, and we have a lot of canals to take care of, and I'd like to see if we could at least minimize the use. And I think this test plot is a step in that direction. It looks like it's a very organized. It reminds me of the test plots I used to see it for the University of California, Davis, for wheat and corn and other various products. So, we are moving in the right direction, and I hope we can find some solution, because, it might not be perfect, but I think we could probably alleviate some of it, at least to begin with. So that's all I have for this time. And next, I think we have item 6, which is Local Agency Formation Committee, LAFCO. It's an election ballot. And we have 2 nominees, Patricia Nelson and Nick Wilcox.
Motion to nominate Nick to the position.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Division 1?
Just a second,
Aye.
just for clarity, I'm sorry to interrupt.
Okay.
That was a motion to nominate. You're, I believe, casting votes.
To vote for.
Oh,
Is that,
okay.
okay.
Good.
Yep.
Sorry.
Division 1?
Aye.
Division 2?
Aye.
Division 3?
Aye.
Division 5?
Abstain.
Division 4?
Aye. Motion passed. Next, we have closed session. Are there any public comments for items in closed session? No such, so we'll move to closed session, and I'll report out after closed session. Thank you.
After 10.
This time I'd like to close closed and open open. I'm going to defer to Mr. Cooper.
Okay, thank you, Mr. President. It's 11:40 a.m. We are out of closed session. The announcement from closed session is that direction was given to the district's real property negotiators and to legal counsel.
Thank you. This time we'll closed open, sorry.